Yo guys, what's up? Recently I've gotten really interested in a custom map in Warcraft 3 called Direct Strike, and a lot of people have started playing this. It's kind of an auto battler, and I wanted to do a small beginner's guide here for those that have recently started or are thinking about starting to play this, because a lot of people have been asking me if I can kind of explain the base, concept of the game. Basically, you start a draft, you pick a random assortment of units, and you decide what army you're gonna want to be fighting with, and I'll kind of be explaining. So let's say I pick this, I pick this, I pick this, I pick this. Now I've got my army that I can choose to produce from. So that's kind of the concept, right? And the reason that I wanted to do a guide for it as well is because I realized I'm not the only one that has been liking this game mode. These are the stats from the first time I started playing it on Twitch and uploading Direct Strike on the YouTube channel. And ever since, as you can see, September 28th, the number of people playing this on W3 Champions has gone up immensely, to the point where yesterday it even overtook the amount of people playing one-on-one. Which is insane. So this mode has gotten really popular, and I think probably partially because I started playing it, but also it wouldn't have worked if people didn't genuinely like this. So very popular mode. I'll do a beginner guide without further ado. So let's begin with what is Direct Strike. So Direct Strike is a custom map built inside the client of Warcraft 3. That means that Blizzard owns it, right? Direct Strike started also as a custom map in StarCraft 2, and this one was inspired by that. So it is basically a tug-of-war auto battler where you play 3 versus 3 with 2 other players, and you will spawn in your units, and then at the end of the timer that you see here, your units will spawn in on the map, and they will walk from your side of the map to the middle, and then at the middle they'll meet enemy units, right? So the goal of the game is to destroy the enemy fortress. So we've got our fortress over here, they have a fortress over there. You can kill the fort if you kill the tower. Super easy, that's literally the win condition, and then there's no other win condition. Kill the fort. All right, so how do you do that? Well, you make an assortment of units and heroes. So if you look at these buildings here, we've got basically 8 buildings we can interact with. We've got a shop where we can buy items for heroes. We have a town hall where we can train a hero. It will give us 3 options of the total 24 heroes that exist in standard Warcraft 3. The 16 racial heroes as well as the 8 tavern heroes equals 24. So you can have up to 3 heroes just like in melee games based on what tier you are at. So 1 hero at tier 1, and if you want to get another you need to go to tier 2, upgrading your main base. Then you've got 2 upgrade buildings, kind of like blacksmiths, where you can upgrade units that you put on the field. You can give them bonus attack damage and armor. You can also get the unit specific upgrades such as, footman, defend, etc. I assume most of you know generally the meat and bones of Warcraft 3, and therefore all of these will seem very familiar. They all pretty much do the same thing as what they do in melee. But the units have been modified in their value a little bit. So for instance, while a footman gives exactly as much experience in melee as it does here, it will have, and it does the same damage, and it has the same armor and the same types. They did adjust the health count of every unit in order to balance it for this mode. So you will make an assortment of different units in this mode, and you basically try to counter your opponents. So you will keep seeing which types of army an opponent is sending towards you, and then the way that you distinguish yourself as a distinguished Direct Strike player is by positioning cleverly, and by choosing the right units, and by countering, and so on, and making good economic decisions, etc. And maybe even cooperating with your teammates with actual communication about what kind of game plan you have. But that's not very important. So a little bit more about the game details later. First, I'll explain you where and how to play Direct Strike. So if you go into your Warcraft via Battle.net, and you access the multiplayer part of the game, which is basically, this is your main menu of Warcraft Reforged, with a valid copy of Warcraft logged into your Battle.net account, and then opening the game. You press Custom Games, and then either you create Direct Strike yourself from your folder, and you give it an enticing name, you give it an enticing name, you create the game, and then you wait for people to join and you start the game. Or you see if there's an open lobby from someone else, and sure enough, you're most likely going to be finding some people host a game of Direct Strike among all the other game modes as well. Warcraft, of course, has a very expansive custom game scene, so you join this and then you play. So that's one way. There is an alternative way, and that's basically the way that I connect with the game, which is via W3 Champions. W3 Champions is a third-party server. You can access it by going to w3champions.com. You press download now, and then you'll download it. You'll run the executable. It is safe, don't worry about it. It will ask you to log into your Battle.net account, and then it will start a phantom copy of Warcraft on the background. You will then see this screen. You will click this button here in the bottom. There will be a mode Melee, where you can play 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 4-on-4 FFA with the 5 different races. Naga last, no, it's random. And then if you click non-melee, you'll be presented with a drop-down bar that has all the alternative game modes. And Direct Strike 3v3 is the one that we're talking about now. It doesn't matter what race you pick, so don't worry about that. Just start playing, and once you click this button, it'll matchmake you automatically. So it's a little bit easier and more user-friendly, and there's many people playing the game right now, as you could see on this graph, so it'll be quite easy for you to find a game. There'll be a pretty light skill-based matchmaking system that allows you to play with people of your own skill, so starting now doesn't get you with sweat lords that are really, really good at the game already. Alright, now that I've kind of showed you where to play it and what it is and how you win, or at least what is the win condition, I'll show you kind of a standard game of Direct Strike so that you know roughly what to do in the beginning of a game. So as the game loads in, you're going to be shown unit options that you would like to be using for that game. The draft begins after the cinematic pan in, and as you begin, you'll be able to pick left side or right side. So either you're going to be having at your disposal Huntresses, Archers, and Sorceresses, or you'll be having at your disposal Footmen, Rifles, and Banshees. So whatever you prefer, whatever you think is better, I encourage you to experiment. I'm not here to tell you what's better. It's not that kind of guy. Try it out. I'm pretty new to the mode myself. I've been having a lot of fun with it. But for example, let's say that I like Footmen because they've got Defend, and Rifles because they're good solid damage dealers. I'll go with those. It'll add them to the list. Then you get another 30 seconds to pick the next. Do I want Unholy Frenzy Necromancers for the Riflemen, or do I want Gargoyles for anti-air, for instance? Well, let's say I want Necromancers, right? Do I want Glaive Throwers and a Shade? Shade can see invisible things, and it can sometimes do an economic steal. More about that later. Or do I want the anti-air capabilities of a Dragonhawk and the backline artillery of the Demolisher at my disposal? Let's go for that. And then finally, these 3 units. So it should be noted that all of these are their standard form of one-on-one Warcraft 3 melee, but the Siege engine has been modified to also be allowed to attack ground units. So it is better than it is in melee, where it can only attack buildings or do an anti-air rocket attack. So let's go with the tanks. So then the game begins. The first thing you do in every game of Direct Strike, as far as we understand what's optimal, is you immediately make a gold mine. So your standard gold output per 20 seconds is 100. And if you want more than 100, there's 2 things you can do. You can build gold mines, or you can push the enemy side of the map. Being on the enemy side of the map gives your entire team an extra 10 gold per 20 seconds. So we're going to use the money we have now to make a couple of units. We'll place them forward. Why do we place them forward? Well, the moment you go over this line, your team gets a green number here. It goes from 110, which is your base amount now, to 120. So going over there is worth a gold mine. Gold mine is 10 gold per 20 seconds, so is being on their side. See how it goes to green now? Bam. That affects you and your teammates. So there's a lot of value, economically speaking, to help your team, as any of the 3 players, to spend most of the time fighting here. There's 2 reasons for it. The extra money you get, and the fact that when your units die to their tower, that doesn't give any nearby enemy heroes experience. They need to kill it with actual units. So it is basically the same concept as in MOBAs, where shoving units under a tower can make it difficult for them to farm it effectively, since the tower has a lot of damage, and it can even, in this game, not like in League, deny experience if it gets the kill. The gold advantage from being over the enemy side of the map is a zero-sum game. We can talk a little bit more about that later, but I don't want to get too deep into the economy just yet. I kind of just want to talk about the game flow. So we're not going to go too deep into gold mines. Just know you have an upfront cost and you get gold per second from a gold mine. So those are the ways to get extra gold. Now, how do you spend it? You start with a worker that cannot leave this box with this grid. The worker has a build button, and you basically build units, and then they will spawn in on exactly that location behind your fort in this box. So we're going to see 2 footmen appear here once my timer runs out. You can move these units at will so that your next spawn in will be in a different location. So this all comes down to your strategic mind, whatever you think is best. There's no like one known optimal way to do it yet. So generally in Direct Strike you will want to have some tanks such as footmen with defense upgrade, and then you put some damage dealers behind it as well, and then support units. Let's restart this and kind of go through an actual start. So here I'm showing another draft where I'll decide I'll go for Footmen and Fiends and Shaman, and then maybe I want to get the Witch Doctor for tier 3 healing, and I also get 2 other kinds of healing which could be cool. But oh, look at that! Spellbreakers, they can steal enemy buffs, and we get Priests, very solid early form of healing. So let's go for that. Then we'll get Mortar Teams and Dragonhawks, and we'll finally end up with Mountain Giants and Tanks. So, start of the game, we are the top player. We always start with a gold mine, whether we are the first player to act on the team in red, the second player in blue or teal, or the third player in yellow. Wherever you are, you start with a mine. Now my wave is going to spawn in 16 seconds from now. We do want to get an early hero, but the hero costs 500 gold. And so we can't get that in time. But we do want to contest the middle because of the aforementioned economy considerations. So usually what I like to do is I like to max out my spending as much as I can to make some tier 1 units and to contest the middle. And I usually place them off the center. Why is that? Well, just in case the enemy has a stronger start-in unit, the units will need to walk towards each other. If his units are here and mine are here, they will then walk towards each other in order to fight, which delays my units' death and therefore loss. So that if I am doomed to lose the middle, then at least it will happen a bit slower. There's an additional advantage to placing them up top, which is, by the way, the fact that they are more likely to hit the same unit. Say, for instance, these 2 units meet these 2 units, then these 2 units will definitely attack that unit together, and so I'm getting focus fire. Whereas when you are walking from the front, then sometimes the enemy units will attack different units, and this can be in your advantage. Alright, so basically you will only spawn once every 105 seconds, because there are 35-second turns between you and your allies. But the reason that it actually looks as if I am spawning every 35 seconds is because there are no allies. So it automatically adjusts for that. But assume normally after the first round, you're going to have enough money and you'll make a hero. Now a hero will take 30 seconds to produce, and that's generally what you do after that first wave. So the game start is gold mine, then I made the double footman on this position, and then I save up during the next 105 seconds to get enough gold to start a hero. Hero will take 30 seconds to produce, so try to give yourself enough time, at least 36 seconds, to be able to get your hero to come out, and then you will need to pick what hero you're going to be making. There will be a new worker appearing in the middle of your screen. You will then press the summon building button, and you will pick one of 3 different heroes. Choose which one you think is going to be best, build it, and then place it. So for instance, we're going to go for the Priestess of the Moon, and then pretty soon after, you'll have like 30 seconds left until the end of the round. You can place the final units you want to be placing. In the early game, generally, heavy armor melee units are quite strong, so I like to just go heavy on footmen. I will get the Searing Arrow upgrade, so that now when my Priestess is going into the field, she's going to use Searing Arrow. This is the best early game ability, but if you want better late game abilities, you wouldn't get this at all. You would instead go for True Shot and the replacement for Scout Owl, which has been replaced by Silence. So you open True Shot and then Silence. But if you want good early game to push early and get that money for you and your team, then you're going to go for Searing Arrows, for instance. And that's going to do a bonus 15 damage per hit, which is more than 50% bonus damage for a level 1 Priestess. Alright, so when do you get a second gold mine? When should you go to tier 2? And how many footmen is too much and how many is too little? When should I start making fiends? And should I upgrade, attack upgrades or armor at all? Well, these are all strategical decisions that you will have to find out for yourself eventually, but I'll just kind of give you the framework, kind of the standard framework. In the current understanding of Direct Strike, opening the first second of the game with a gold mine immediately seems to be correct. Everyone does it, right? And if you are red, you will do the 1 or 2 unit start, and then you'll make your hero for the second round. If you are teal, the second place, you also don't have enough time to go for a gold mine start into a hero for the first wave. So teal will also open with 2 to 4 units for the first wave in order to push mid and hold mid. It's only yellow, the third player to act, or orange on the other side, that can go for a gold mine and then hold out, build a hero, and you will have a hero on the first wave. And then you can also add 1 or 2 extra units in the final 30 seconds. So start is gold mine 2 units, gold mine 3 units, gold mine hero 2 units. That's pretty much how each of the 3 positions start in an optimal way. So when do you get the second mine? Well, up to recently, we played on an older patch, mines were a little bit more expensive. And because of this, the general wisdom was to only upgrade a second mine once you killed their tower. Now, the effects of killing their tower are as follows. Basically, towers and forts work as a rubber band mechanic in this mode. If an opponent pushes you hard and wins hard against one of your fights, they win a battle hard, their army is going to move to the tower where it will die to the tower. And then when the next army shows up, it will also push all the way to the tower because it finds no resistance in the middle. As the previous player is still fighting and dying in front of the tower, the next player shows up and the equilibrium point that used to be here has been moved closer to the tower. So that means that the next 2 players, one that's defending initially against the previous opponent and the new assailant, will be fighting at the tower, which is an advantage for the defender. And that will create a rubber band effect where instead of fighting in neutral terrain, the defender actually has a small advantage in at least winning the fight, even though he loses some experience. And because of that, there will be a rubber band effect where he now is suddenly the winner. So sometimes someone that's initially winning a team can then lose out some tempo on the battlefield because they fight the tower. And what happens next is that that army from the right side will then rubber band back to the left where there is no tower. That means it goes deeper and deeper and deeper, and there will be a lot more time spent on the enemy side of the map. So basically, killing the tower is worth 125 gold at once for every team member. It's profitable immediately, but it also leads to a positive effect where you'll spend a larger period of time on the enemy side of the map because there's no tower to rebuff them, and you still have a tower which is going to help you rubber band for any semi-hard pushes. This is why killing a tower gives you a lot of extra benefits, and then you basically look towards the next challenge, which is killing their fortress, which is significantly more difficult. Because it is more difficult, usually people determine that they cannot kill it that soon despite killing the tower. They want to increase their economic lead by adding a second mine right after they kill the tower. But in the new patch, it is actually pretty okay to go for a second mine before either team loses the tower if you think you can fit it in. You should only do this if you are quite strong. You are not actively losing your tower, you're either neutral or you're winning at mid and spending slightly more time on their side of the map. Because if you're constantly losing out and the enemy is spending a lot of time on your side, what you need is more power now rather than more greed. Now I'm going to go a little bit deeper into the economy of things, the mathematics behind things. The first mine costs 150 gold and will give 10 gold per 20 seconds for just you. 10 gold per 20 seconds is 30 golds per minute. You spend 150 gold, which is basically going to earn itself back in 5 minutes. So if you make that first mine at second 0 in the game, you'll earn it back after 5 minutes. A pretty fast return time. Armies during this time are very small and are therefore not very likely to kill a tower, so you're not going to get punished for your greed. In fact, it is not greed, it is just frugal, clever, economic preparation for the future. The second mine is a little bit more debatable. Each one costs 50 more, so the second mine costs 200 gold. That means it will take 6 minutes and 40 seconds to earn itself back. This one costs 50 more, it always adds 1 minute and 40, which means 8 minutes and 20 seconds to earn this gold mine back. And the final mine costs 300 gold, which will take exactly 10 minutes to earn itself back. So if you made this mine and you lost in the next 5 minutes, it was probably too greedy. So now I've kind of told you about the return times: 5 minutes, 640, 820, and 10 minutes to earn itself back. But how about the actual dynamics and what you sacrifice for that upfront cost? Well, 200 to 300 gold could be 1 or 2 units that could help you to push out things, or maybe you could get 1 or 2 upgrades for it. Remember how being on the enemy side of the map gives you 10 gold per 20 seconds extra? So being on the enemy side of the map basically gives you a gold mine's worth of value, but not just for you, for the whole team. So being on their side of the map is worth 3 gold mines to your team. So if you lose out on that advantage by making a mine because you were greedy and you didn't make enough units, then you've won 1 mine, but you've lost 2 mines that your teammates are now not enjoying in terms of income. It gets even worse. Keep in mind that this is a zero-sum game. Either Team 1, the right side, has it, or Team 2, the left side, has it. We're not talking about finding gold in the woods that would never otherwise be found by anyone else. We're talking about taking gold income for your team times 3, and the enemy loses it by 3. So that is a difference of 6 gold mines. They go from +3 to 0, and you go from 0 to +3. That's 6 gold mines worth of difference. Anything you steal from an opponent is worth twice as much as if you just procured and produced it by yourself. And because of that, being on the enemy side can be said to be worth 6 gold mines, whereas making 1 mine is worth 1 gold mine. So it is much better to be aggressive and to help your team get that money and to be on their side, to push down towers and to spend a lot of time here. However, sometimes you can have it all. If you can have it all, you can be on their side, which is worth 6 mines, and you can have a bonus gold mine, like the second mine or the third. And that to you is worth 1 extra mine. So for your team, that's worth 7 mines instead of 6. 7 is worth more than 6. It's better. But 6 is a lot better than 1. So be very judicious with when you add mines. Sometimes though, you can tell games are going to go long, and then maybe you want to get that mine so you get a little bit richer. But otherwise, invest in important unit techs, counter opponents, etc. On average, first mine is a default at the start, second after the first tower or right before it when you feel it's going well. Third is a maybe in most games, and fourth should almost never be done. Do as I say, don't do as I do. As games go on and you start getting to higher tech and you start getting a lot of different units, at some point, when you have enough units, it can be worth more to get some kind of army-wide upgrades rather than making another unit. Warcraft 3 upgrades give about 12.5% value for units. An attack upgrade gives every unit you have 12.5% more damage, and an armor upgrade pretty much gives you 12.5% more survivability. There are some exceptions and there are some ways around this, but this is generally the value. Because of that, having 8 units justifies for you to get an upgrade rather than making a 9th unit on average. But I would say 8 is a little early to go with upgrades because you're only upgrading merely attack, not attack and defense. So attack and defense costs 300, but another unit does not cost 300. So my suggestion would be to get the first armor or attack upgrade no earlier than 10 minutes into the game, or at least when you have something like 12 to 14 units minimum. Certain unit-specific upgrades can be worth more than the just armor or just damage. For instance, defense upgrade is 50% damage reduction from piercing. So if you face large piercing attack armies, then first click this before you would end up clicking this. When should you make second hero? Pretty much when your first hero is getting about level 5, 5.5, or 6. Any of those moments is a good time to get a second hero. Ultimate abilities are very powerful in Warcraft 3 in general, and extra powerful in this mode in Direct Strike. And so once she is about level 5, I would then train a second hero, which by the way can be another priestess, but in this case probably should not be. There are many different strategies. You can go heavy on tier 1, you can go to tier 2 and just stay there for a while. Some people I've seen rushing for tier 3 and just having like, literally, they'll just have like a single siege engine. Let's say this is a siege engine and then a single chimera, and that's it. That's their army. And while this can be difficult to play with, since your teammate is now not very strong and is not doing a lot of good stuff for your team, sometimes that ends up actually carrying the game and ends up being very powerful. So I encourage you to experiment, do your best, try to find good values of upgrades, unit production, think about formation, right? You can do lots of silly things. You can go in spear formation with some kind of reasoning, or perhaps you want to go in a concave formation. There's even planning to be done about positioning towards the back line, where you arrive later and therefore maybe don't walk into enemy tower, or perhaps you want to stand in front so that you join your previous teammate faster. There are mechanics in this game called stacking. If your hero survives, even though the rest of your army dies, he will be set to stack. Basically, if my hero is alive when the next wave of my ally comes, my hero can join that wave, and that's called a stack. And that's actually part of the key for victory. For instance, I could have priests and priestess and have a high level true shot aura, and then if this joins with my ally, suddenly I can give inner fire to his frostworms. So that can be very, very strong because maybe he doesn't have priests. And then his endurance aura is combined with my true shot and his brilliance, etc. Some of these auras can be purchased in the shop. Simply click the shop, click the hero you want to buy for. Golden icon is around the hero that you're going to be buying for. Click the category you want or scroll through the options, and then you can buy a bunch of items. And now suddenly Priestess has all these items that can buff my entire army, and if she stacks with an ally, buff theirs as well. Alright, what are you waiting for? If you enjoyed Direct Strike, come play with us on W3 Champions. Thousands of people are doing it. Just wanted to give this a little beginner guide so you got a little bit of a start. The game isn't difficult, especially if you've played Warcraft 3 before. There's a lot of cool strategical little details that you can learn and pick up along the way. There's also cool customization. You can click on your profile, go to army skins, and then choose different skins. You can actually buy them with currency you earn via playing, which is all free. There's no monetization, and you can dress your units in different skins as the game is going on. So hope you enjoyed this little Direct Strike beginner's guide and have fun with the game. See ya.